Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Masala Chai and Chess with Nisha. Today is the birthday of International Master Ponuswamy Konguvel, who also has three Grandmaster noms. Konguvel was the Indian national champion in the year 1995, a year that was also very special for me. He won the national juniors once and the national sub-juniors twice. Konguvel is a very tactical player and his understanding and knowledge of the chess openings is really very good. I can testify that Konguvel is not just a good chess player, but he and his wife Kavita are very good human beings, very helpful by nature. In the year 2010, I made my final international master norm in Spain, and there in the last round, I needed help with food, with my luggage, with transfer in a train, to my flight, and Kavita and Konguvel were very helpful at that time. Here's wishing Konguvel a very happy birthday and lots of happiness in life. Let's get started with the games. I'm going to show a couple of games today. The first game was played in the Commonwealth in the year 1999. White is Konguvel, already a star player then, and black is 16-year-old Surya Sekhar Ganguly. We all know today that Surya Sekhar Ganguly is a very strong grandmaster, but even in his childhood days, he was considered a child prodigy and a very tough nut to crack. So let's see how the game went. E4, E5, Knight F3, Knight C6, Bishop B5, F5. We see the shieldman on the board. Knight C3. And here Ganguly played Knight D4, which is the old main move. Nowadays, most people go for F into E4. This is common these days. So Knight D4 was played. E into F5. C6. Black attacks the bishop on B5. Now this position was reached between the same players 2 months prior to this game. So they had played a tournament 2 months back and exact this position was reached and Konguvel had done his homework. In the previous game he had played bishop d3, but here he came up with a different move. And I want to tell you this about Konguvel, that he is a person who works very hard on the opening. He knows his opening very well. He knows the intricacies and he has a very good understanding of whatever openings he plays. So I'm not very surprised that Konguvel found an improvement over his game. He studied the games, I guess, of two players, Judith Polgar and John Nunn, and both of them had played knight into e5. So Konguvel came up with this improvement in this game. And here Ganguly played the move queen e7. But the first question which comes to our mind is, isn't the b5 bishop going? Let's see what happens if that bishop is captured. So c into b5, queen h5 check, g6, f into g6, white is threatening g7, so knight f6 attacking the queen on h5, g7 anyways, knight into h5, g into h8 queen, knight into c2, king d1, knight a1, queen into h7, and there's a mate threat on f7, there is queen h5 coming, and this is just lost for black. That's why Ganguly did not take c into b5 and he played queen e7. In the game, in another game between Judith Polgar and De La Villa Garcia, the game went queen g5 and Judith won after 25 moves. So let's see queen e7. Let's see this current game. And here, what do you think Konguvel played? His knight is hanging, his bishop on b5 is hanging. He played castles. Now this is a very nice theme when opponent's king and queen are in the open e file. It's possible to play castle because the knight on e5 cannot be captured as rook e1 comes. So black played king d8. And now we see that black is threatening c into b5 and queen e5. So both the pieces are under attack. Konguvel played rook e1 and knight into b5 was played. There could be one question, what happens for c into b5 instead? Here comes knight d5, and for queen e8, there is knight c6, p c6, rook into e8, king into e8, knight c7, king d8, knight into a8. And very interesting is after knight d5, for queen c5, there is a pretty mate with knight f7. So, Ganguly played knight into b5, knight into b5, c into b5, and here d4. If you look at this position, white is piece down, but white has a very good compensation. He has a great position. Konguvel had really done his homework. And yeah, one thing I want to tell you is that white does not want to get back the piece with knight c6. He does not want the queen. Knight c6, dc6, rook into e7, bishop e7. Black has 3 pieces here, and this is not what white wants. So white played d4 in this position. Knight f6, queen d3, d6. The knight on e5 is attacked. Here, Konguvel played a nice move, bishop g5. He's not, removing the knight from e5. It's not required. Bishop d7, queen b3. So white is threatening knight f7. d5, stopping white's idea. Here, white plays another nice move, a4. And the idea is after b4, white plays c4. He's trying to open up the center. Bishop e8. And again, white does not want this move, knight c6. This is not what white wants. The rook on e1 and the knight on e5. White does not want to exchange them for the queen on e7. So white played the move knight g4. And there is more pressure on the knight on f6. Queen f7. Rook e6. There's more pressure on the knight, and black needs to do something about it. Black is quite helpless. Bishop d7 was played. Many moves are good here, but Konguvel continues to play the best moves. C into d5. Bishop into e6. D into e6. Queen has to move. Queen e7. Knight into f6. G into f6. Queen d5 check. And here Ganguly resigned. Let's see the variations. So after queen d5, if black plays king c8, there is rook c1, king b8, bishop f4, it's over. It's queen d6, bishop d6, bishop d6, queen d6 leads to checkmate. So after queen d5, if king e8, queen d5 check, king d8, bishop into f6, queen into f6, queen d7 is a checkmate. So after queen d5, Ganguly resigned. I always feel that strong players make winning look so easy. And by studying the games of good players like Konguvel, we can really understand how to conduct a successful attack. The next game was played in Linares in the year 1996. White is Konguvel and black is a grandmaster from Russia, Burmakin Vladimir. Let's see how the game started. e4, c6. Now before we start seeing this game, I want to show you something. So e4, and here there is a variation which goes d6, d4, knight f6, knight c3, e5, knight f3, knight bd7. Now you will know why I am showing this at this juncture. There is some connection with the game. Bishop c4, bishop e7, and here castles is possible, but another way to white can do is d e5. This is not popular, but let's see what happens. If d into e5, black can take knight into e5, knight into e5, d into e5, and black is fine in this position. This is completely possible to play this. So make a note of this position and we'll continue with the game. So e4, c6, this is the game continuation, d4, d6. Now instead of d6, d5 is normal caro-can, but d6 was played here. Knight c3, knight d7, knight f3, e5. You need to compare with the last variation that I showed as to what is the difference between this position and that position. Bishop c4 was played. Black played bishop e7, d into e5. And here in the game, knight into e5 was played, but it would have been better to play d into e5, knight g5, attacking f7. Black must take bishop g5, and the point is white has queen h5, attacking g5 and attacking f7, so he gets back the bishop. He gets the bishop on g5, so queen e7 and he gets the bishop. And the game goes on. But in this position, after d into e5, Burmakin played knight into e5. After knight into e5, d into e5, reach this position. Now compare this position with what I had shown at the start. Here, there is no knight f6. Last time we saw the pawn was back on c7 and this knight was on f6 instead. Now what is the difference between this position and that position? Here came the move queen h5. Now we see the drawback of not having the knight on f6. White is attacking f7 and e5. It's a double attack and black loses a pawn. g6 was played. Queen into e5, white won a pawn and he won the game in 22 moves. I'm not going to show you the game further, but I showed this example because a lot of my subscribers keep telling me to discuss openings. Now, what is opening? What is opening preparation? Opening does not mean knowing a fixed set of moves. It means you need to understand the tactical motive, the strategical elements after a certain piece placement, after a certain pawn structure. So here it was very important to understand that why a knight on f6 was required, because queen h5 comes this double attack. Now what do you do when you do not know the opening? You have to calculate. If you look at this position after d into e5 and you realize that knight e5, d e5, queen h5 is coming with a double attack on f7 and e5, you can think and say, okay, I cannot take knight into e5 because once this f3 knight moves away, white has queen h5 in the absence of knight f6. So this is calculation. So you can actually manage openings even if you do not know them, if you can calculate well, if you know the tactical elements in a position, if you know the strategy related to a position. So this is all what I wanted to show connected to this game, and Konguvel won a nice game against a strong grandmaster. This is from a game played in Lille in France in the year 2016. White is Konguvel, black is Grandmaster P.Konguvel. Now this position looks good for white. White is a pawn up, but how to proceed is a question. If you want, you may pause here and try to find how you will play in this position. So, Konguvel played a very nice idea. He played knight f5 check. G into f5, black must take. E into f5. And knight into g5 was played here. It's easy to understand why queen into g5 was not played, because rook into h7 wins for white immediately. So after knight into g5, white played rook g4. The knight on g5 is attacked, so black played king h6. And Konguvel repeats in the style of Karpov. He played rook h4, king g7, rook g4, king h6. And here he deviated queen e1. Knight f6 was played. And Konguvel played queen h1 here, which is a nice move. But when I was looking at this game, the engine showed a move queen h4. I did not understand. What is queen h4? What if black just plays knight h5? So the point is, I did not find the answer to knight h5. And engine is a very bad teacher. You ask him a question, he just straight gives the answer. He will not tell you, you think here, find a good move. But you know what? This is a very nice position. I want you to find a good move for white, something which I could not find because the engine did not give me a chance. But this is a very nice move here. I'll have masala chai now. The good move here is g3. So white wants to play queen h5, and after king into h5, white wants to give rook h4 mate. And this threat is very, very strong. White is completely winning in this position. So this idea is really fantastic. G3, great idea. So in this position, Konguvel played queen h1, which is also a very good move. I mean, queen h4 was a faster way according to engine, but okay, we just need 1 point, that is enough. Doesn't matter, we make it slow or fast. So knight h5 was played here. White played rook h4, attacking the knight on h5, and black played e4 here. We see that in this position, queen f7 does not save black, as there is this simple g4. The knight on h5 is going. We can see some variations, say king g7, rook into h5. The g5 knight is under attack. If queen f6, queen h4, again attacking the knight. Knight f3, rook h7, king g8, queen h5, and white has ideas of rook h6, and white is clearly winning now. So after rook h4, black played e4, attacking the bishop. Konguvel took bishop into e4. We see that in this position, knight e4 is not possible. It was not played because rook into h5 and rook h7 wins the queen on e7. So after bishop e4, black played queen e8. g4, attacking the knight on h5. Black took knight into e4. Rook into h5 check. King g7. Rook h7 check. King f6. Queen h4 check. Knight g5. Instead, king e5 is not possible because rook e7 wins the queen. So knight g5, queen h6 check, king e5, queen g5. White has got back, the material given. White is completely winning. Let's see the end of the game. King d5, queen d2, king e4. If instead king c6, there is queen c3 and c7 is hanging, it is over for black. For example, king d5, rook c7 is just over. So after queen d2, black played king e4 and white played rook h3. Black resigned here as rook e3 is unstoppable. It's really amazing to be able to drag the opponent's king all the way to the center of the board and finish off the game, and especially if your opponent is a grandmaster. A great victory by Konguvel. This game was also played in the same tournament as the last one, Loose Open in Lille in France. Konguvel is white and black is Deveque, Guillaume. The opponent here is quite lower rated, but I chose this game as we can revisit our tactics through this game. e4, e6, d4, d5. We see the French. Knight c3, bishop b4, e5, knight e7, a3, bishop into c3, b into c3, c5, queen g4, and here black played queen a5. This is possible. People who have seen my earlier episodes of Masala Chai will be familiar with the move queen c7, which we saw in the game Nilotpal Das versus Nigel Short. And I think it was Nigel Short versus Nilotpal Das. And so here we'll see the game with queen f5. Bishop d2, castles, bishop d3, knight bc6, knight f3, f5, e into f6, rook into f6, queen h5. Now here's a question for all of you. If you're black in this position, will you make the move h6 or will you not make the move h6? Now I can tell you what is the advantage of h6. h6, in future can stop knight g5, bishop g5. But the question is, will you make it here or not? Think about it while I sip my masala chai. Now this natural move h6 is a blunder here. The correct move after queen h5 would be knight f5, and we are still in so-called theory. A lot of games have been played. After g4, black plays c4. Many games from here are there. So in the game after queen h5, black played h6, and those of you who found it very good, queen e8, rook f8, and the tactical shot bishop h7 comes here. Now this is a typical tactics, but we have to be alert in a game. We do not know this is coming, so that is why I had this question for you all, that when you make this decision, you have to consider opponent's ideas. King into h7 was played, queen f8. White has a great position. White is already close to winning. Let's see how the game went. Knight g6 attacks the queen. Queen e8. Queen c7. Now can you find the next move of white? Now this move is quite in the news these days. That's the last move of the game. So here white played h4, and you see that the move knight g5 cannot be stopped. Pointers after h into g5, h into g5. The rook on h1 is giving a check to the king. It's a mate. The king has nowhere to go to. So black resigned in this position. You see that strong players, they just know the tactical themes very well. They have put in more effort into chess. They have studied their openings. They have studied the tactics, and they're able to apply the tactics at the right point. Remember, I had mentioned to you earlier that with a pawn on h4, rook on h1, knight on f3, there is this idea of knight g5. So now you're seeing two games with similar ideas. So you also become familiar with this pattern, and next time maybe when you get this in your own game, you'll remember, oh yes, I know there is knight g5 coming here. So in the game after h4, black resigned. We can just see a variation. h4, h5, knight g5, king h6, there is queen g8, and mate on h7 coming soon. It's over for black. Fantastic games by Konguvel. I hope you all liked the attacking tactical games of Konguvel. Don't forget to wish Konguvel a very happy birthday, and let's wish him every happiness in life. Do put a thumbs up if you like this video, and do subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so yet. See you. Bye-bye.